Round 3 of the South African Off-Road Championships moved to the rolling countryside around Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal. With the Queen Motor Spares Settler 400 and the Jojo Tanks Barberspun 500 already under their belts, championship hopefuls were looking to consolidate title challenges. For others, it was a case of playing the catch-up game. Clayton Enslin, former motocross star Gary Peterson and local favourite Alfie Cox led the 3 motorcycle category championships. Enslin topped the 200 class, Peterson the 250 and Cox the 500 category.
The sponsors this year, Alna, Kawasaki and FMF, have put a lot of effort into this year. It's giving me a good motivation, pushing hard. I just want to get the Kawasaki, Alna, I want to keep them happy. And up to now, it seems to be good. I've got a comfortable lead and just hope it stays that way.
No surprises in the production vehicle championship with reigning champions Appie Reineke and Robin Houghton leading the way in the dealer team Toyota Land Cruiser. A win in the Jojo Tanks Barberspun 500 lifted Cliff Barker and Malcolm Hubert into second place in the Pennzoil Land Rover.
Yes, I think obviously we finished the first 2 events and we only finished 2 last year. I think it's probably due to the fact that we've got a new sponsor who's obviously put a bit more effort into our team. And we've responded by obviously spending a bit more time and trouble on the vehicle and more preparation. And I think everything should go well for us.
After 2 rounds, the quad category had a strange look about it. Reigning champion Wikus van Deventer, who had dominated quad racing in South Africa for 3 seasons, was languishing in 4th place behind championship leader Johan Kruger, Christophe van der Merwe and Eric van Lille.
The bikes are going very well and I'm quite confident today we're going out right for a win, that's definite. And if nothing goes wrong, there's not much that's going to stop us today.
John Lambert and Hendrik Fourie led the Special Vehicle Championship, but behind them it was a dogfight. Only 2 points separated the next 3 crews, with 3 former SA Championship title holders featuring in the first 5 on the championship table.
Yeah, we're there. We've been consistent. We're leading the championship. Unfortunately, at the start of this race, I snapped a CV joint 100 meters into the race, and I had to replace it on the time trial. I'm just going to repack it quickly.
The traditional time trial before national championship events is a short sprint that determines start positions for the race proper the next day. The time trial gives competitors an early look at the sort of conditions they can expect in the race and also offers an opportunity to pinpoint any mechanical problems. Off-road events counting towards the South African Championship are decided on corrected time. This means combining times for the short time trial section with a race proper. The car and bucky classes in South African off-road racing are split into 2 categories. The special vehicle category caters for custom-built space frame vehicles which are split into classes depending on engine capacity. The majority of the vehicles are imported from the United States and incorporate the latest technology with a variety of power plants utilized by South African competitors. After heavy rain in KwaZulu-Natal prior to the Sugarbelt 400, competitors were pleasantly surprised to find the route for the time trial relatively dry. Wet conditions along the route were being reserved for the race proper, and with competitors relishing the dry conditions, the pace in the time trial was a hot one. Vehicles competing in the production vehicle category in South African off-road racing are also split into a variety of classes. These are once again decided on engine capacity as well as the drivetrain configuration. There are classes for 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive vehicles, with the Motorsport South Africa Off-Road Commission working hard towards increasing the number of competitors racing in near-standard vehicles. The Off-Road Commission is also working hard to increase manufacturer participation in off-road racing, with the Sugarbelt 400 seeing the debut of a Mitsubishi Pajero in the hands of local crew Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak. When the dust had settled on the time trial, 9 of the cars in the top 10 were from the special vehicle category, with the Jetbeck father and son team just edging out Bux Carolyn and Kenny Scholthammer. Neil Woolridge and Paul Vermaak are previous winners of the Sugarbelt 400 and had high hopes for the turbo-diesel Mitsubishi Pajero.
Yeah, we've got a new car this year. It's a Mitsubishi 2.8 turbo diesel short wheelbase. It's very similar to what's done that well overseas, the Dakar. They won the first 3 places. They won the T1 class. It's a very similar car. We've had a lot of help from the people that actually prepare the Dakar cars in Sonoto in France. And obviously Mitsubishi here have given us a hell of a lot of help. And we're very excited about it. It's Mitsubishi were last in racing here about 10 years ago. and they did very well. They won the South African Championship, so we're hoping we can do it again.
Motorcycle off-road racing is also split into categories, with engine capacity the deciding factor. There are 3 classes catering for machines in the 200cc, 250 and open categories, with each class producing its own champion. After overall and class wins in the first 2 events this season, no one was looking further than local hero Alfie Cox when it came to picking a winner for the Sugarbelt 400. Cox has dominated South African off-road racing over the last 5 or 6 years and is in a class of his own. With the motorcyclists also reveling in the dry time trial conditions, times over the 20-kilometer time trial route were very fast. It was significant that 3 of the riders in the top 5 were Italians, with 4 different manufacturers featuring in the top 10. Experienced Italian Richard Manning set the fastest time ahead of Grant Bloomfield and Lance Trethewey. In a minor surprise, Cox found himself down in 4th place, but was only 10 seconds behind Manning. Quad racing is one of the fastest growing motorsport categories in South Africa. As with the car and motorcycle categories, quads are split into classes. Class K caters for near standard machines, with Class L incorporating high technology modified four-wheelers. Quad racing has had national off-road championship status for 3 years, with the sport dominated over the last couple of seasons by Lichtenburg dairy farmer Wikus van Deventer, who this year has switched from Yamaha to Honda and was joined in the Jojo Tanks team by Anton Hoffman on a Yamaha Banshee. Although he's without a win this season, Van Deventer dominated the time trial on the Jojo Tanks Honda. He came in just over 30 seconds ahead of Mark Breckel, with Christo van der Merwe, Paul Breckel and Adrian High completing the top 5. Yamaha riders filled 9 of the top 10 placings in the time trial. Road racers have a fetish about early morning starts. When most people are tucked up in bed on a chilly morning, off-roaders are ready to go racing. Although they had the advantage of a clear road ahead of them, morning conditions on the Sugarbelt would be tricky, and the Chepek father and son combination were not thinking in terms of any early racy roads.
Well, our strategy for today is we got pole position. Hopefully we'll stay ahead for a while. We're not going to push too hard. We don't want to get lost early in the morning. It's going to be very slippery. There's a lot of dew around, so we don't want to throw it away. But we'll get faster as we normally do as the day progresses, and if somebody wants to have a take us early in the morning, we're not too worried about that, but we're going to try and keep a nice steady pace for the whole day.
For Brooks Carolyn, the tactics were straightforward.
We're going to just try and keep the car on the road, and the grass is wet, so we've got to make sure we don't go into the cane, and we'll just play time by time, try and catch up to Cheppy. Catching him's one thing, passing him's the next, and then if we get in front, try and get a gap. We think there'll be a bit of dust, and hopefully if we can get a gap on the guys, we can stay in front all day.
A fair-sized crowd braved the early morning chill to watch the start with the Chepek's first away in the V Motors Raceco. They were followed by Brooks Carolyn and Kenny Scholthammer, who were second on the road in the lubrication equipment Raceco, and Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Motortech Gymco. The cars were flagged away at 30-second intervals according to their time trial positions, and ahead of the competitors lay a tough 370 kilometers of racing. It didn't take long for the Chepeks to start coming under pressure. Brooks Carolyn and Kenny Scholthammer were rapidly closing in on the race leaders, with Craig Draper and Hamilton Guthrie also quick out of the starting blocks in the Draper Plant Hire Raceco. From 5th on the grid, Draper and Guthrie were quickly into 3rd place on the road, and behind them, JJ Volmerans and Carlos de Abreu in the Blue Chip Raceco had also moved ahead of Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne in the Motortech Gymco. From 3rd on the grid, Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne had dropped to 5th on the road in the Motortech Gymco and were being chased by local crew Derek Pennzoil and Craig Jackson in the Quick Fit Raceco. With the car crews starting to snipe at each other, the motorcycle brigade were ready for action. The bikers were flagged away according to their time trial results, and there were often only seconds separating the riders. With race headquarters at the Eastern Country Club, the route for the Sugarbelt 400 was split into east and west loops. While the cars first tackled the east loop, the bikers went out on the west loop and started half an hour after the four-wheelers. Matters were a little hectic at the motorcycle start, and matters were also starting to hot up out on the car route. Springboks Cassie Kutsia and Richard Leek were out in front of the production vehicle field in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. Chasing after Kutsia and Leek were reigning champions R.P. Reinecke and Robin Houghton in the dealer team Toyota Land Cruiser, with the two production vehicle crews already ahead of Nick Harper and Sean Cronin in the Pro-M Raceco. Also moving through the field was Richard Carolyn in the single-seater lubrication equipment raceco, and he had locals Derek and Tino de Bruin in the Nissan Sani right on his tail. At the front of the field, there were new leaders in Derek Pennzoil and Craig Jackson in the quick-fit car. The Italians moved into the lead when the Chepex and the Carolyn-Scholtheimer combination both strayed off the route. Carolyn and Scholtheimer were now second, with the Chepex right behind them. Nardus Alberts and Warren Klaassen in the Rapsa racecar had moved into fourth on the road, with Richard Schilling and Ashley Thorne fifth in the Mototech Jimco. Sixth on the road and leading the production vehicle category were Cassie Kutsia and Richard Leek, who were looking for their first win of the season in the Castrol Toyota Hilux. Crews had started to encounter some of the expected wet conditions, but there was some hectic racing going on. With national off-road races decided on corrected time, positions on the road can often be deceptive. The name of the game is to get from the start to the finish in the quickest possible time. And in the production vehicle category, Api Reinecke and Robin Houghton in the dealer team Toyota Land Cruiser had some ground to make up on leaders Cassie Kutsia and Richard Leek. There were no prizes for guessing who was at the front of the motorcycle.